Hi. I don't know how to start this video. But from the title you could assume it's about Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. A game that was released on mobile in 2015. And is getting a sequel next year in Missing Link. The first you're seeing right now is actually the first version of it, Kingdom Hearts Chi, which was originally a browser game. And I really hope I can actually convince you to watch the cutscenes of this game, or don't know, experience it in some way possible, because I think it's got a genuinely really good story, and I think everyone should experience it. But I assume if you're here, you've probably already watched the cutscenes and know the story, so let's get into this. Kingdom Hearts Chi is the last spin-off in the Dark Seeker saga, and was released before Kingdom Hearts 3. It was originally released in 2013 for Japanese browsers. However, during its development it had a troubled development because the team had no experience with browser games, so they gave it to Success Corporation to help them co-develop it and supervise it. During this, the main team was also working on Kingdom Hearts 3, and they actually also planned for a mobile game to coexist with Kingdom Hearts 3 and also Chi. But they ended up getting rid of the mobile game idea and eventually adapting it into just a port of Kingdom Hearts Chi, which would be later called Union Cross. Obviously, looking at the gameplay, they couldn't use 3D models because it was just a simple browser game, so they opted for a style that looked closer to Kingdom Hearts Mobile, and it looks pretty good actually. I really like the chibi models. And also they were inspired by fairy tales from the other games as well. That's another factor into their look. In the game's development, they changed names a few times. Like I said earlier, they changed it to Union Cross, but that's wrong. It's meant to be Unchained Key first, and then it's Union Cross. And then it became Union Cross and Dark Road when Dark Road came out, which is, I guess, technically it's a sequel, or I guess you could also consider it an epilogue, sort of in a way. But yeah, Dark Road came out in 2020 on June 22nd, I believe, and it also had a movie in the 2.8 collection, which most of you might know of. So now it's time for the gameplay, which there's a lot to go through. It's surprisingly in depth, but obviously since it's a mobile game, got very simple gameplay. It uses the card system, not like Chain of Memories obviously. Dark Road actually used this card system. Had AP and BP. BP was for battles on raid bosses, and Nifas would restore 1 BP, and AP is basically your stamina, like any mobile game. It will run out, but you can wait, or you can use a potion and it'll give it back. It's also got character customization. It's the first game to have a playable customizable character as well, and for what it is, it's pretty decent. With Union Cross and Unchained Key, there are a lot of gameplay changes, obviously because they had to move it to mobile. So let's start with the cards were being changed to medals. The medals that use special attacks, and we're now able to use a move called Supernova, which would get stronger depending on the medal's level. The player can change the gender at any time, so it's not just set in stone as you press it. Oh, and also the Union as well. I forgot to mention that earlier, but whatever. Fuck it, we will. BP was moved entirely, and AP was used for raids. And they also added Dreamiers. There's a lore reason for that, you'll find out later. And they can give you a 6 medal slot, which will be multiplied depending on the spirit's level. There was also a Classic Kingdom, which is also in Kingdom Hearts 3. And a limited time challenge was actually held, so you can get the Starlight Keyblade early. Now you can't actually play Union Cross or Chi since both are shut down, but you can still customize your character and watch the cutscenes. You can actually still play Dark Road as well. But yeah, you can't play anymore. But I did want to go through the gameplay because I felt like it was important to go through, and I thought it was, kind of cool to see what it was like when people played it. Alright, are you all ready for the story? Because this is a long one. We're basically going through 2 games and 1 movie, so you better be prepared for this one. So Kingdom Hearts Chi starts us off with Kari's grandma reading Kari's favourite story of Light and Darkness, which is no longer in the game actually. In a deep dive section, instead of us being in the centre of the deep dive symbol, it's the 5 unions. Angus is run by Envy, Leopard is run by Gula, Unicornus is led by Ira, Erosis is run by Aced, and the last union is Volpes, which is run by Ava. Depending on which union you choose, there'll be dialogue changes and a few fights will be different, but it doesn't matter. But I chose Angus because that's the one they choose in the novel. Anyways, we meet with our union leader who tells us to go to the other worlds to collect Lux, which is light. In Kingdom Hearts Chi there are 5 worlds: Dwarf Woodlands, Olympus Coliseum, Wonderland, Agrabah, and Beast Castle. I won't be going over them as they're the same as the movies, and I've already experienced in other Kingdom Hearts games. Anyways, we gotta go collect Lux in other worlds, so a trophy gives us a power bangle. This lets us use move from the future by collecting darkness. Later the player has a dream about the Master of Masters and the Foretellers. Nothing is said, but after we wake up and go back to sleep, Trophy meets another Trophy outside the window. But it's slightly darker, which is weird, but whatever. Trophy is asking if he showed us the dream, but he doesn't really tell us anything. The next day we meet a boy from a different union named Ephema. We introduce ourselves, and Ephema has a theory that the worlds we're going to are holograms created by the Book of Prophecies. He also found out that the unions have different goals, leading us to bring up our dream and suggest we go to their HQ, which is inside the clock tower. So we go to said clock tower, but neither of us know how to get into said clock tower. We make our way to the Foretellers room, but Ephema says we should wait till tomorrow, because it looks kind of suspicious, but he'll promise to meet us at the fountain tomorrow. He's not there the next day though, unfortunately. Trophy eventually convinces us to go home. We then get a flashback to Ephema talking to one of the union leaders, Master Ava. Ephema mentions that something is off about Ava, but we don't learn what that is till back cover. After the conversation, Ephema leaves and Ava mentions the dandelions, so we'll get to later. That night we have a dream about Ephema. Before disappearing into a bunch of dandelions, he says that he'll be waiting for us. After we wake up from the dream, we take that dream as a message from Ephema, that he's waiting for us in the clock tower, so we make our way there and meet Master Ava. We then fight Master Ava to show her what we can do, and she figures out that we're the ones that Ephema was talking about at the fountain. When we go back home, Ava appears in our room in our sleep, and asks Trophy if he was the one who showed us the dream about Ephema. Trophy says he didn't, and Ava assumes it was Ephema who showed us the dream, somehow. Probably with his Trophy. Trophy asks how that is possible, and Ava responds by saying Ephema is getting close to the truth, and that Ephema is reaching out to us from a different realm, and that we're getting closer to it. The next day we meet a girl named Scald, who kind of looks like Diva, but it's kind of weird. That's what I thought when I first saw her anyways. Anyways, we quickly become friends. She also turns out to be friends with Ephema as well. We hear a fight going on, and as we investigate we see 2 of the Foretellers, Envy and Aced, fighting on the rooftops of Daybreak Town. We don't know why they're fighting just yet, as it was a thing explained in back cover, but we'll get to it when we get to back cover. Scald then tells us that she had a dream about Ephema, and that he told her that the end of the world is coming, but the player says we should focus on Ephema and go to the clock tower. On the way we meet a new type of pure-blooded heartless called Darklings. They can actually talk, surprisingly, and they talk about Lukes. We meet with Nightmare Trophy, who is the Trophy with the Dark Fur. They reveal that Darklings are Keyblade wielders. Our Trophy asks who the Keyblade wielder is, with the Nightmare telling us that they are closer than we think, and leaves. We then meet with our union leader, who informs us that Ephema is dead. Oh fuck. But they actually turn out to be Master Ava, who is in disguise, and she reveals Ephema's whereabouts, and that he's joined the Dandelions and offers Scald and us to join. Scott accepts we need time to think about it because we feel like we would be abandoning those who are participating in the war. A few days later we see 2 Keyblade wielders fighting. We proceed to stop them and then encounter Aced, who fights us to test our strength, but is stopped by Ira. Later that day Skuld mentions that the Dandelions are worried due to Ava's disappearance, and Trophy suggests we talk to Master Gula as the 2 were close, and we also wake up in time to hear this info as we were knocked out earlier by Aced. We then meet with Gula, who knows why we're here and tells us that Ava can't stop the war, only the Master can stop it. At the same time that this is happening, Ava meets with Lushu, the 6th apprentice of the Master, who reveals his role to her and that it's to watch, and makes to the future that is written inside the book, though Lushu didn't receive one. Gula says that the lost page reveals a traitor. Kind of. It's a riddle that says imbalance observed, strength replaced, and a future filled with sorrow. Words of truth are misunderstood as they explore our secrets of tomorrow. I may have messed up quite up a little bit. But anyways, Ava asks Luciu if he's the traitor, and Luciu reveals to her that she's the traitor. Kind of. He doesn't reveal it, but judging from her reaction and the lost page, it's kind of obvious for this Ava. But she doesn't believe him, obviously. And she fights Luciu, making the bells chime, starting the Keyblade War. Yeah, it's not looking good for Ava. She's definitely the traitor. At least I think she is. I'm not quite sure. I don't know. I'm gonna assume it is, because why would the traitor be Luciu? He's not a foreteller. Anyways, then the Keyblade War starts. On the way there, we meet with Nightmare Cherokee, who fuses with the Darklings for the final fight. Before disappearing, Nightmare Cherokee reveals that we're his wielder, and was informed from the power bangles using darkness. Yeah, the power bangles use darkness, so you can use them from the future, but using darkness is still using darkness, even if you are using it for light reasons. We then join our union leader, and the 5 unions gather. Then the war begins. We fight the 5 union leaders, but we don't really win any. They just kind of give up and go home. Or the Quadratum, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, the war ends with the player being the only survivor. However, things aren't looking good as we sing Kingdom Hearts, believing our time has come. However, Ephemer and Scold arrive to help us. Then, credits roll. We get a post-credit scene where we end up in the Enchanted Dominion. We believe the Keyblade War is nothing but a dream, and then Kingdom Hearts Union Cross begins. Well, I kinda lied. We're not going to Union Cross just yet. We are going to Kingdom Hearts back cover, which is a companion piece to Union Cross. Well, Chi, technically, but you know what I mean. Anyways, I'm just gonna briefly go over that because there is quite a bit to talk about, but if you already know the story of Chi, you know, I don't really need to go over that again, which I just told you about. Okay, so Ira discovers that there's a traitor among them due to the Nightmare Cherokee. He also discovers that there's a missing page in the Book of Prophecies. Envy tells him that she knows about the missing page too. Meanwhile, Ased wants to join forces with Gula and Ava because he can't trust Ira. However, Ava declines because it goes against the Master's teachings, but Gula accepts, but he doesn't want his union getting involved. Envy arrives but says the same thing as Ava and reports back to Ira. Envy meets with Gula off-screen and convinces him to break his alliance with Ased. Ased and Gula have a conversation later and accidentally lets it slip that Envy told him to break the alliance. This leads to a fight, which we see in Union Cross, but we do see a bit more of it, with Gula and Ava helping Envy, and accuse him of falling to darkness. They actually almost kill him, but he does in fact make it out alive and meets with Ira. Gula then confesses to Aced that he has the missing page. Aced beats him up for it, but he's okay for the most part. And that's it for the Chi part of the story. Also, all of this is the reason why Ava was upset at the fountain in the main game. Just thought I'd let everyone know. Anyways, now it's time for the Fortes backstories and their roles given to them. In the case of Ira, before the Master left, he told Ira that he'll disappear and that he needs him to lead the other 4. But the Master doesn't know when this will happen, so he just needs Ira to be ready. In the case of Envy, the Master told us to watch over the others and report back to Ira. She was also told to remain neutral no matter what. In the case of Aced, he was told to be Ira's right-hand man and lead him into the right direction. In the case of Gula, he was given the lost page that no one has and was told to trust no one but himself by the Master. In the case of Ava, she was told to gather strong Keyblade wielders and form a secret organisation that will collect light after the Keyblade War. Now we're on to the most important one. In the case of Lushu, he was given the Master's Keyblade, No Name, which is the same one that Xehanort has. So the Master could see into the future since the gazing eye is his eye, which is also why Lushu's role was to watch events. He was also given the black box, which we aren't told what's in, but Lushu is told. Before this ends, I'd also like to mention that the Master made Chirruphy. I didn't know how else to say this, so here it is. Okay, now it's time for the main attraction of this video, the big part. Kingdom Hearts Chi was like an hour long. Union Cross is 4 hours long. So this is gonna make most of the video me recapping this game's plot. So yeah, here we go. The game starts off with Master Ava saying that when everything is over we should meet at the fated land. We see Ephema and Skuld meet up and are waiting for 3 others. We then get a flashback to the case of Ava, and then we get another where she talks to Ephema about starting a new set of unions with 4 other leaders. We then go back to the case of Ava, but this time it's extended. The Master gives Ava a piece of paper with the names of the union leaders, with one highlighted in red. The person highlighted gets a copy of the Book of Prophecies. Back at the Keyblade graveyard, the 3rd union leader arrives, and it's a familiar face. It's Ventus from Birth by Sleep. His design's a little different, but notably his hair is shorter. In another scene, Chirruphy tells Skuld and Ephema that we've been having nightmares about the Keyblade War, and mentions that he hates lying to us and thinks the Keyblade War shouldn't be forgotten. Skuld and Ephema reveal Union Cross, which is to make all the dandelions forget about the Keyblade War. Back at the graveyard, we meet a new face, a boy named Brain. We then cut to a girl called Strelitzia. She saw us at the fountain while waiting for Ephema, and wanted to be our friend due to us not disappearing like her party members. However, she never had the courage to speak to us. She meets with Master Ava and is told she's going to be a union leader, but finds out we're not a dandelion, so she goes to find us the next morning. This is, however, when Strelitzia is killed, before she can meet with us. We then meet the final union leader, another familiar face, a boy named Laurium, who is Marluxia's somebody, or his completed self. The 5 goes to the Fortes room, and Brain suggests to get the dandelions to get materials to make Dream Eaters so they could eat their nightmares, and forget about the Keyblade War. We then head to Enchanted Dominion, one of 6 new worlds in the game, the other being the Castle of Dreams, and the rest being game worlds from Wreck-It Ralph. Like last time, these are mostly filler, but Wreck-It Ralph is sort of not. It has a bigger role than the others at least. After defeating Maleficent, it's revealed that she is in fact the real one, and not a hologram from the Book of Prophecies. You see, after she was stabbed by Ansem Riku, she then set herself back in time to prevent her defeat, and she knows how to do this because of Xehanort. He told her during Birth by Sleep. Maleficent then meets up with a being called Darkness, and he offers to help her get out of this world of data. And obviously she obliges because, you know, she's stuck there and she needs to get back to her own time. The Union leaders then have a discussion about shifting pride, which is part of one of the instructions left behind by Master Ava, and basically they need Keyblade wielders to fight each other. Now Skuld obviously doesn't want that because they just had a war, so it's suggested that they have them fight their data versions, which is how PvP is done in this game. So during this, Laurium is missing because he's looking for Strelitzia, who is his sister. He meets up with a familiar face, Alarina, who is Larxine's somebody. She was in Strelitzia's party a few times, so they kinda knew each other, but they weren't really, I guess, what you would call friends. Alarina and Chirruphy tell Laurium that Strelitzia was looking for someone before the Keyblade War. He goes back to the Union room and Alarina goes into the abandoned house that Gula was in. Laurium tells everyone about what happened to help. Ephema and Skuld figure out that this someone is the player. So naturally, Ephema and Laurium talk to us and ask if we know anything about Strelitzia. Since we never met her, we aren't much help. But we do catch up with Ephema, which is good. Laurium meets with Ellerina again, and she tells us that she saw Strelitzia in the house. However, this is a glitch caused by the data world. In fact, the world itself is glitching, which it shouldn't be happening because, you know, they should be in the real Daybreak Town, right? Well, you see, the thing is, the world is connected to Wreck-It Ralph's world, which isn't a world recreated. So, yeah, that's basically a virus to this data world. And also, Brain vows to become a virus and basically, you know, free everyone from Daybreak Town. We then offer to help since Ephema and the Union leaders need people to go to these worlds, and that's what we'll be doing for the rest of the game. We then cut to a scene with the Master and Lushu. The Master tells us there was a Keyblade War when he was a boy, which was against the 13 Darknesses, people who gave up their bodies to become pure darkness. This led to the creation of the Heartless, and this also started the infection of darkness in people's hearts, making sure the war wouldn't end. Brain explains more about the data world and how they're stuck there, similarly to Mickey and the others encoded. Brain then leaves to read the Book of Prophecies. While he's reading it, we get a flashback to him getting the book from Ava, where she puts the list of Union leaders in between one of the pages. Millicent comes out of a door of darkness and makes her way to the clock tower to help with darkness. He leads her to a room with a machine called lifeboats which can travel to other worlds and travel through time. And for those who forgot, this is the same machine that appeared in the Hollow Bastion section in the End of the World during KH1. Millicent is stopped by Laurium and the two have a fight, with Millicent being the winner. Millicent then goes back to the real world and then goes back to her time via the lifeboat. Meanwhile, Brain calls Ephema to meet him and shows him the paper of the Union leaders. It turns out that Brain wasn't supposed to get the book, it was Ephema, and they find out that Strelitzia was meant to be a Union leader. However, that means one of them wasn't a part of the plan, that being Ventus. Ventus starts to remember how he became a Union leader, back when Strelitzia went into the abandoned house. Ventus was hypnotized by one of the 13 Darknesses and killed Strelitzia, taking her rulebook. Ventus passed out and is taken to his room, while Laurium goes to the Union room to demand answers from Brain, who are discussing darkness. With that, Ventus arrives, confessing to Laurium. Laurium gets upset, obviously, and darkness finally comes out and knocks out Laurium. This darkness reveals that Ven could have taken anyone's place as a Union leader. So, you know, yeah, didn't have to be Strelitzia, it could have been anyone, but, you know, turned out to be the other Union leader's sibling. But, you know, as we know, she's not dead, she's in the Quadratum. So, yeah, hopefully get a happy ending. After a fight with darkness, everyone's almost done for, before Laurium gets up, and we arrive to help them. After the fight, Ven gets up and uses his pure light to reshape the darkness, who will later become Vanitas. Ven is now out cold for the rest of the story. In the real world, Lushu, who is carrying a white-robed figure known as the True Dandelion, and sends him to the future on the lifeboat. Meanwhile, talking to the darkness that was with Maleficent earlier. Back to Union leaders, Laurium considers killing Ven to get rid of the darkness, but doesn't go through with it. Also, Arena is here because she saw someone who looked like Strelitzia with someone in a black coat, presumably Lushu. This doesn't really go anywhere in this game, it will probably go on later, but Laurium suggested it's her data, well, Strelitzia's data, sorry, and they can bring her back with the data, but Brain says, no, you can't do that, I'm sorry. We get an extended scene on the case of Lushu when the Master reveals that in addition to training them for their roles, he was also training them so they couldn't be controlled by the darkness inside them. Yes, the 6 foretellers and the Master contain 7 of the 13 darknesses inside them. Anyways, back to Union leaders. They head to the basement where the lifeboats are. Ephema, Skuld and the player say they're going to stay in the data world as there aren't enough lifeboats for everyone, as one is destroyed and the other's in the real world because of Maleficent. Brain gives Ephema his Keyblade, the Master Defender, and the book before leaving. In the real world, Brain sends the other 3 into the future. Back in the data world, the 4 darknesses that are trapped in the data world appear. We're about to fight them when we pretend to be possessed by darkness, attacking Skuld and Ephema, who open a lane in between to the tunnel in the Wreck-It Ralph world. This also sucks in the 4 darkness. We reveal that we trick them and lock the other side of the tunnel, with Ephema having closed the other side. We fight darkness one last time before collapsing. Meanwhile, Brain is trying to free the dandelions trapped in the data world and meets Lushu, where he says it's not possible to save them. It's a shame that this lifetime's the only one he's got, before the scene fades to black. Ephema and Skuld go back to the real world and see Daybreak Town falling into darkness. This is because the lifeboats were the trigger for the destruction of Daybreak Town. Doesn't matter who uses it, just as long as the lifeboat's activated. This was mentioned earlier, but I wasn't sure how to bring it up. The two head back inside and use the lifeboats while Ephema thinks about us before the lifeboat closes. Then we die along the other dandelions who turn into Dream Eaters. But we don't choose to become one we choose to live a second life and we reincarnate into the Missing Link protagonist. Then, credits roll. But that's not it, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone outside the gendered binary. There's still a few scenes left. First of all, Ephema didn't go to the future, only Skull did, and Ephema managed to make Scarlet Cullum from the ruins of Daybreak Town. We then get a different perspective of the Maleficent's return in KH2. We see Luciu has now taken Brain's body, Lorien wakes up in the Dwarf Woodlands, Ellerina wakes up in the Enchanted Dominion, and Venom wakes up in the Keyblade Graveyard. Was approached by a shadowy figure, presumably Xehanort. With Skull's fate unknown, however, it's implied that she's Subject X. None of these swerve any memories of life due to no medium, and that they have no memories of them in that time. We then see a girl who is related to Skull and is the mother of Xehanort, giving them to a blue-robed figure who is confirmed to be us. We look at Xehanort and become his parental figure. Then we get to the final cutscene, which has Brain waking up in Scarlet Cullum in an unknown time, which we now know to be the Unwritten Era, and is greeted by a man called Sigurd, who has given Brain his hat back. The two walk to the square fountain, and Brain recognises the statue of the fountain. It's Ephema, who's made this town and is the original Keyblade Master. We then get a message saying, "An oath to return, Kingdom Hearts." And that's it, the story's over. For this retrospective, I also wanted to go through the Kingdom Hearts novel and see if it was worth reading. The novel goes over Chi and back cover, and a bit of Union Cross, but not all of it, just up until Strelitzia dies, unfortunately. There wasn't really any main differences though. The only main difference that stood out to me was the player having the dream about the Kingdom Hearts 3 Keyblade War. It's sort of weird, but it makes sense. But yeah, I'd give it a read if you don't want to watch cutscenes. But if you can read a novel, then yeah. But also, it's not finished. But who knows? Maybe we'll get a finished one day. Because I think we'll get a Dark Road novel at some point, and also they'll have to finish they'll have to make the Union Cross book next. Anyways, I like to go into the characters next. They're like my favorite part of this game. I'm not gonna go to the Fortes because I don't really have an opinion on them. But I liked Ephema, he was cool. Yeah, it's interesting to see his character unfold, and especially like him being the ancestor of Xehanort as well. That was pretty interesting. Skuld I thought was pretty cool, and she reminds me of X from Mega Man for some reason. I don't know why. Very much cool too, but I don't really have much to say about him, to be honest. But I like his design and his hat. It's really cool. And there's also Ven and Lorium. I actually really like them the most because I always find it fun finding new things about stuff about old characters. And also Strelitzia is like my favorite character from this game as well. I like her design, I like the mystery surrounding her, I like how she got to the quadrant, etc. I don't know, she's just really cool in my opinion. And I think it's her design mostly as well, that's my favourite. But I can't wait to see more of her in Kingdom Hearts 4. Anyways, yeah, it's definitely my favourite cast, I'm pretty sure. At least top 2. I don't really know what my first would be, maybe it would be Birth by Sleep, I'm not sure. Yeah. Like I said, I really love them. I don't really have much to say now though. There are some other characters, but I didn't really see what they had to offer because they were in like side quest stuff. But, you know, you can always experience those if you want. See what they're like for yourself, like the other dandelions and that. But yeah, I'd like to go over the impact and also Missing Link. Kingdom Hearts Union Cross was semi-popular. Like people really love the story and its characters. It's even getting another sequel, so it had to be pretty popular to get one of those. Even when I don't doubt that Square would probably do another mobile game, but we're getting Missing Link soon this year, I believe. And the beta at the time of recording is the closed beta is coming out for Android, and it looks pretty good so far. There's also a fan remake in the works called Reunion Cross, and yeah, like I said, it's looking good, but it's very unfinished. And speaking of more fan work, there's the fan dub of Chi and Union Cross, which is done. This is organised and I assume edited by Damo, I guess how you pronounce his name, I'm not sure. He made a cutscene compilation of Union Cross, etc. And he also made a he also explained the story, one in 15 minutes and another in about an hour. There's also Everglow's version of the cutscene compilation with but it doesn't have back cover. And everything, like all the links to these things, will be in the description below, including the tutorial account for Reunion Cross. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed it. It took me a while to make this, but it was pretty fun, and please tell me how I can improve in the future. This is my first time doing these type of videos, and if you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe for more videos. And before I go, I'd also like to apologise for taking so long making this. There are a lot of problems, like mental health wise and college. and they just didn't give me any motivation to really make the video, but I'm glad everyone was patient with me. Anyways, maybe follow me on Twitter, and I will see you all when I decide to stream or upload. I definitely do want to make more content like this, and the next video is definitely going to be a bit shorter than this one. Anyways, bye!